Hello. I hope everybody's doing good today. I have really got to figure out how to apply like a little intro video. I kind of miss having a little video. StreamYard thinks it's a good idea to charge me to have that back. I'm like, nah. But a little cigarette all going. Share a screen. Entire screen. So it's quicker that way. I'll just hurry up and get this over with. I actually do not have a lot of articles tonight. I only got, 6, I think. Oh, wait. I need to post something real quick. Hold on. All right, there we go. All right, so I'll start my complaining. Now, this is from the other day. Let me refresh it so I can tell you how long ago this was released. 5 days ago. Well, I've been in Tulsa, so I haven't been doing this, so I saved this article. Trump officials demand severe punishment for journalists over Washington Post report. The idea that we have a president, any president, because this is not the first time something like this has happened. Public reporters have been punished before by other presidents, and it's not cool. But it's definitely a sign of trouble to come. The administration of Donald Trump reacted badly to a Washington Post story reporting Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth quadrupled his security detail over that of the past administration to guard his multiple homes and properties. Yikes. The Post reported that Hegseth's unusually large personal security requirements are straining the Army agency tasked with protecting him as it pulls agents from criminal investigations to safeguard family residents in Minnesota, Tennessee, and D.C., according to numerous officials. Yeah, I feel like if you think you need that much protection, you're probably doing some bad shit, to be honest. Most of the time, people who aren't guilty aren't looking over their shoulder constantly. That's just kind of my view on it. Described by the Post as a sprawling multi-million-dollar initiative, the security team has forced the Army's Criminal Investigation Division to staff weeks-long assignments into each location and monitor residents belonging to Hegseth's former spouses. Plural. So, okay, that is so weird. So Hegseth is having the Army's Criminal Investigation Division monitoring his ex-wife's, plural, homes. That's fucking bizarre as shit. It really is. I've never seen this many security teams for one guy, one official speaking anonymously. Nobody has. Sources told the Post that 150 agents typically serve on a VIP security detail. But one source said that Hegseth's team is up to 400 and going up, while another claimed it's over 500. It sounds like he's got more security than the president does. Jesus. Trump administration officials pounced on the Post for publishing the revelation. By publishing details about Secretary Hegseth's security protocols, the Washington Post is actively putting him and his family in danger. No, because he's got like an army of 500 people guarding him. I don't think he's in any fucking danger at all. You know? It's holy shit. Like, I don't even know how big the president's security team is, but this guy's got over 500. That's fucking ridiculous. Hegseth is fucking, I think he's a paranoid nutcase. I'll be honest. Hey there, sugar. How are you? And welcome. Oh, and if you want to be a sugar plum, I am in a competition right now. And so, like, you can vote every 24 hours. So, like, I would appreciate if you vote for me on this one. I'm trying to win a little Halloween contest thing from something called Fangoria magazine, which is something I used to look at when I was a kid. So if you're willing to help me on that, hello. I can't remember what we agreed on, but I think we'll call you Brig, I guess. He sounds more of a post shoe-in than Vance. Maybe, but that's a lot of security though. Like, damn. Like, it wouldn't dawn on me to have that much security unless I was doing something like suspicious. But and they want to attack the Washington Post by accusing them of putting Hegseth in danger by giving details of a security protocol. The guy's got like 400 or 500 member security team. I don't think anybody's going to get to him. But anyway, next article. And like I said, I don't have many articles today because it's like last minute. I decided I was just going to do this. Donald Trump suggests he's a war hero. That kills me inside. It really does. It really does. Let's see what context he was saying this, even though it's fucking bizarre anyway. Donald Trump suggests on Tuesday. Let me refresh this so I can see when. 6 days ago. Okay. That way we know which Tuesday this happened. Donald Trump suggests on Tuesday that he is a war hero, telling conservative radio show Mark Levin that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is one, and adding, I guess I am too. I would say neither. I don't think bombing unarmed civilians is really a war hero type tactic. And besides, Benjamin Netanyahu, if you want it to play that side, is actually over there when he's not over kissing ass over here. But Trump is just giving people weapons to let them do crazy shit. Like, Trump's no war hero. Like, he didn't even enlist. Anyway, Trump's comments, which likely stirred debate among president's critics and supporters, come amid fluctuating approval ratings as the electorate responds to key policies and developments in his presidency, including his administration's handling of the uproar over documents related to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, the federalizing of police in D.C., and Russia's war with Ukraine. The president's remark could also strike a sensitive chord with important constituency for all of the U.S. politicians, military veterans. The Trump administration is making cuts to the Department of Veteran Affairs. Of course he is, because of course, which announced in July that they will reduce their staff by 30,000 employees by the end of the fiscal year. So yeah, so the VA was already treating people like shit. They were already pretty much not doing their job, and now they're going to cut staff by 30,000 employees. And then this guy's going to come on here and say he's kind of a war hero too. Oh my God. I find that so fucking offensive. Like, that's fucking absurd. And like, it's not like I just make it my thing to bag on Trump. If Biden or Obama had said this, I would be saying they were full of shit too. I would. I hate on whoever deserves it. Oh shit! I think there's a way to bypass it. Let me see it real quick. Ugh, I look like shit there. Well, you probably don't want to actually use any money to do it, but the way to bypass it, you could technically buy them, I guess. A friend of mine earlier did this one. I think because he didn't want to like sign into Facebook. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying that I think that is also an option. I think it's a little unfair though to make it towards only Facebook that you can do it, but they do it to verify to make sure that one person isn't cheating with the votes or something. But make sure it's a verified account. So, meow, gorilla, how are you? How are you doing today? Oh, and by the way, hi to Roadkill. How are you? I didn't say hello properly. Sorry. Sorry, got a little hairball there. Anyway, but to hear Donald Trump basically saying that he's kind of a war hero, I I hope someone runs him over with a car. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my dad wouldn't even say he was a war hero. My dad, like, signed up, volunteered, mind you, in the 60s when a lot of people were just dropping acid and doing their thing. My dad actually volunteered for the army. Thankfully, he wasn't sent to Vietnam. Thankfully, he was sent to South Korea, near the DMZ, I think he said. You know, and his dad, my grandfather, and my grandfather's brother were both in World War II. And they probably would not have described themselves as war heroes. So to see this fucking tangerine prick calling himself a war hero makes me want to commit violent acts. It does. I'm sorry. It does. And remember, I'm anti-government. Doesn't mean I'm military members. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, fuck this guy for a lot of things, but definitely fuck him for that comment there. So, all right, next article. This one's a fucking weird one. This headline caught my attention. Donald Trump says maybe people like dictators. That's not good. Even if it's out of context, that sounds terrible. It does. But let's see what the context is. Facing criticism over his hardline actions in D.C., President Donald Trump pushed back, saying a lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. That's fucking terrible. That's not good. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense. Except that he's borderlining on violating the Posse Comitatus Act of 1787. I think it's 1787. That's not good because they're now arming the military over in D.C. And I hope I have the article up. I may or may not have the article up. Shit. But you can check it out for yourselves. That they're going to be also assisting in law enforcement. That they're not supposed to do. I figured him sending them there and be like, they're just going to guard federal buildings. You know, I'm like, okay, get your foot in the door. Let's see if it stays that way. No. But Trump also reiterated that his threat to deploy the National Guard to Chicago and sign an executive order on cashless bail and the burning of flags. Now, hold up. Let me check this out. Yeah, because the Supreme Court a long time ago, I don't know how long ago, but a few years ago, ruled that burning the American flag was protected under the First Amendment speech. Now, I'm not necessarily a fan of setting flags on fire or anything, but I do believe in the freedom of speech. I do believe in people's right to expression without threat of the government. So... And this probably comes from the fact that a lot of people complain that you can burn an American flag, but you can't. You will actually get in trouble if you set an Israeli flag on fire. So, like, if I was to go and get a Star of David flag, like, I would get in more trouble for setting that on fire than an American flag. And I've got a problem with that as well, because I think both would be protected under freedom of speech. But at the same time, I don't think that I should get more prosecution for burning a foreign flag than I would my very own. I feel like if I'm in this country, then my flag should take precedent. I think so. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not about throwing people in jail for their First Amendment expression. But I'm saying that I feel like if we were going to, that should have been the way. Not just, arrest people for both. I'm not liking the idea. All right. Let's read this. Trump's comments came amid a push by his administration to crack down on crimes in the nation's capital, including the use of the National Guard. Critics have warned that the efforts reflect those seen in countries under dictatorship. I agree. In fact, actually, I don't even know if it's copywritten necessarily because the movie was going to be made. It was almost done. And then the guy who was making the movie was killed, made to look like a suicide. You know how that goes. And it's called The Gray State. Hold on a second. My keyboard doesn't work, so I have to use the one on here because I just haven't replaced it yet. You may not be able to hear it, but maybe I can get away with showing it to you. So, Gray State official concept trailer. So when I see this shit going on, this is the kind of shit I'm visualizing happening. And the guy in the hoodie is actually one of the people that was helping make the movie. But it was his buddy that was killed. Clinton, if you will. Actually, I'll pause it for now. I was just giving you an idea of it, but I don't want to get in trouble. Oh, hold on a second. It's not like he was being sarcastic toward you now. Because he knows they will take him seriously. Well, people were jailed for burning the BLM. Yeah, and I think that is also a violation of their First Amendment. I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If I can set an American flag on fire, then I should be able to burn a BLM or Pride flag. I mean, whether I agree with it or not, I believe it should be protected under the First Amendment. I mean, when I was growing up, my grandmother told me that if a flag went to the ground, you were supposed to burn it. I've heard that. Well, the one I heard, and I mean, you could still be right, but like if it's torn up and tattered and like weather worn, that you burn it. And I don't remember what you do with it after it's burnt. That I don't remember. But I know you're supposed to pretty much do like a, baseball dive to the ground to try to prevent it from touching the ground, if necessary. Fuck, quit, burn. Well, granted, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying to set things on fire. I'm just saying that, like, you shouldn't be prosecuted for one and not the other. I don't think you should be prosecuted for either. Carney wants to send $2 billion tax dollars to Ukraine. We need to stop sending shit to other countries. We need to stop sending money to Russia and Ukraine and Israel and all that silly shit. Maybe, just maybe, we might actually have money for our own folks. I mean, I don't understand how it's considered socialism to want to at least give like small temporary housing to people who need it here, or, discount or free medicine to people here. But when we send that kind of help overseas, that's called foreign aid, not socialism. I think if we're going to be using tax money to buy stuff for people, it should be our own people here. Even worse, Carney dictator says to send Canadian troops. Oh, for fuck's sake. I hope Canada does not do that. It's all a fucking mess, and we shouldn't be in any of it. I'm so tired of seeing that cruddy, creepy little Ukrainian fucker coming over here. He actually dressed decently this last time. I was actually surprised he had that in his fucking closet. But I'm tired of seeing that little sweatsuit wearing fucking weirdo coming over here and getting money, and it is the craziest panhandling I've ever seen. We don't need to be sending shit to other countries, especially in the way that we're doing it. We basically fund both sides of a conflict and smuggle weapons to one, officially give weapons to another, and then, use your tax dollars to rebuild that shit in such a way that that country ends up owing us for rebuilding the infrastructure that we destroyed in the first place. The whole thing is a fucking racket. It really is. And I fucking hate it all. Sorry. Oh. All right, so Donald Trump was speaking to reporters as he signed the new executive order related to crime Monday morning before taking questions from reporters. Despite the backlash to his crackdown in D.C., Trump insisted his approach is popular. He compared it to debates over transgender athletes, another divisive issue he harnessed during last year's election. I feel like that the crackdown in D.C. is a weird thing to compare it to the transgender athlete situation. That's very odd to me. I don't know. But anyway, next article. Now this shit, as soon as the news broke and I heard that the government now owns like 10% of fucking, Intel, I just, man, it didn't feel right. And like I said, it wouldn't matter what president was in office. This seems like a terrible fucking idea. But anyway, Trump loses it on, quote, stupid people who are unhappy with the Intel deal. I paid zero. Yeah, he paid zero. You didn't. President Donald Trump slammed all the, quote, stupid people who are unhappy with the federal government's purchase of 10% of Intel. Who would not want to make a deal like that? Trump spoke out about the acquisition of the beleaguered computer chip maker amid widespread disappointment over the deal, which conservatives, even the conservatives know this is bad, which conservatives have slammed as a step towards socialism. I absolutely fucking agree. I do. I believe in the right to private business, private enterprise, and having very little government involvement. And that includes the government buying that. And yes, I had a hissy fit when the government bailed out the banks, too. That was also a stupid idea. I don't believe in too big to fail. If they did good enough, then it should stand on its own 2 feet. If it can't, then fucking let it sink. And maybe that sounds shitty, but I don't know. Anyway, taking to social Monday morning, the president posted, I paid zero for Intel, and it's worth approximately $11 billion. All goes to the U.S. Why are stupid people unhappy with that? Calling his voter base stupid is fucking dumb. This sounds like a guy who does not give a shit about people who voted for him. I will make deals like that for our country all day long. I will also help those companies that make such lucrative deals with the United States. I love seeing their stock prices go up, making the USA richer and richer. Really? So if Intel stocks go up, are you and I going to get a fucking check? Because I can guarantee you, it may not have been his money, but I bet you it was ours. So I'm kind of wondering, because if it's going to make the USA richer, who in the USA? Probably the people in office. Probably not us. While our prices of everything goes up. But okay, Trump announced the deal Friday, saying, it's my great honor to report the United States of America now fully owns and controls 10% of Intel, a great American company that has even more incredible future. Now, I have an issue with this. Now, my issue is it makes computer chips. Now, I already know the government can get all up into your shit, put spy gear in there, all kinds of shit to spy on you. But I feel like you're even more at risk. Because I have a computer too, we are all even more at risk. And the government can do even more to manipulate computer chips and make it do pretty much whatever the fuck they want it to do. Now that they own 10% of it. I mean, I know I sound paranoid, but just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get us. That's what my dad always said. So, and they showed a picture of his True Social. I don't have True Social. I thought about signing up when it was first launched, but apparently there was a waiting list, and I was like, that's kind of lame, and I don't care about anything enough to wait on a waiting list for it, so I didn't. The move was also the subject of the Wall Street Journal editorial, which slammed the president for turning D.C. into Chinatown. It's an odd choice of words, but okay. While it doesn't happen often, the government's purchase of Intel is not unprecedented. According to the Associated Press, which notes that the government pumped nearly $50 billion into General Motors. Oh yeah, those bailouts too. I forgot about that. In return for nearly 60% stake during the 2008 Great Recession, when the automakers were on the verge of bankruptcy. I don't think that was a good idea either. I think bailing out companies, because if you have a good product and you have it fairly reasonably priced, people will fucking buy your shit. It shouldn't need bailed out by the government. And perhaps that's the libertarian in me speaking, but I do not approve. When I say I don't approve of government interference, I mean for better or worse, for the most part. And besides, like I said, like when they pumped $50 billion into General Motors and owned 60% stake, did anything get better for us? I'm sure it made a lot of people rich, but it wasn't me. Was it you? Because it sure as fuck wasn't me. So, like, none of us actually benefited from that. So, he's not making America richer. He's just making him and his buddies richer. That's really what that is. Let me come see what everybody's saying. Oh, brother. That's because he needed to suck up and the suit hid the knee pads well, right? True that. He has not tabled a budget. Totally failed on tariffs for Trump. Yeah. His elbows up is now a joke, right? All right, so we're done with that. Man, a lot of people were comparing some of the stuff going on to the internment camps in World War II. And I feel like doing this, I feel like it's kind of a na kind of to the people. And I'm one of the people who was concerned this was going to look like the Japanese internment camps situation. So apparently they decided they're going to do that. And I'm just like, damn. Like, it's one of those things that could not be more obvious. So, hold on. Americans of Japanese heritage say they hear echoes of their families forced in internment camps in Trump's administration's new immigration detention site. Homeland Security says that President Donald Trump's sweeping mass deportation campaign requires a buildup of detention centers to bridge the gap between arrests and removals. They've turned the U.S. military and private contractors to get the job done, including erecting the nation's largest immigration detention site on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. But stewards of Japanese American history, including the children and grandchildren of those held in detention centers, are criticizing the use of Fort Bliss for the plans to expand the immigration detention on American military bases. Fort Bliss was a cog in the United States Japanese internment machine, says Brian Naya. I hope I'm saying that right. Like, I'm not trying to butcher it. I just suck at names. A historian and content director at Dinsho, a nonprofit that chronicles Japanese American internment. Naya's own grandfather, the managing editor of the Japanese language newspaper, was arrested the night of Pearl Harbor attack, December 7th, 1941, in Honolulu, and was held in 6 different internment camps over the next 2 years. It's important to look at the past to maybe try to understand what's going on in the present and what the end result could be. I agree, because history has never smiled well upon any situation where the government has started rounding up a bunch of people and putting them in camps. It really has just, it's never been looked back on history in a good way. There is no situation in history where we've gone, hey, that was a really fucking great idea. I hope we do that again sometime. No, it just never works out that way. In the moment, people think they were justified and they think they were right for doing it. But history always shows that ends up not being the case. The Fort Bliss facility, known as Camp East Montana, it feels confusing for the fact that it's in Texas, rises like a white tent city on a flat desert plain. It falls within the confines of the military base, but is visible from El Paso's bustling Montana Avenue and sits adjacent to an unmarked building that is located at the local headquarters of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. At the cost of 1.2 billion. Always got to do the Austin Powers thing. 1.2 billion. The camp has the capacity to detain 5,000 people. Roughly 1,000 men were being held there in mid-August, according to the U.S. Representative Veronica Escobar, an El Paso Democrat whose district includes Fort Bliss. Tricia McLaughlin, Assistant Secretary of Public Affairs at the Department of Homeland Security, called the comparison between the detention centers for the people in the country illegally and World War II encampments deranged and lazy. No, it's not that big of a jump. The facts are ICE is targeting the worst of the worst, including murderers, MS-13 gang members, pedophiles, and rapists. I don't doubt they're targeting them, and I get that. But there's a lot of people who are getting kind of grabbed, and it's kind of a very wide net they're kind of casting. So they're not just getting these folks. I agree with taking away the murderers and the gang members and the pedophiles and the rapists. I agree with that part. I do. But I've seen a lot of them catching the wrong people and holding them. And that's a lot of where my issue is at. A Cato Institute analysis of government data in June found that ICE was arresting 4 times more non-criminals each week on the streets than people with convictions. And that is where my issue is at. ICE's own data shows that 45% of the roughly 59,000 people in custody in mid-August had no criminal record or charges. Again, when I say you cast too wide of a net, that's the issue I have right here. If it were all murderers, rapists, and pedos, that would be different. Mike Ashi? I'm just going to guess at that. Executive director and co-founder of Suru for Solidarity, an immigrant right advocacy group, said that he sees parallels with the current administration coming in and removing people from their homes, from their workplaces, and often with no explanations. Again, I have an issue with that, because if I'm being detained or arrested, I want to know what I'm accused of. And even ICE's own data is showing that 45% of all those people don't even have criminal records or charges. 45% mistake is bad. Ishii, because again, I'm just guessing on that, whose family was held in Minidoka concentration camp in Idaho, says, right now it's very frightening for people, he said. In 1941, it was also frightening. I reckon so. 80 years ago, Fort Bliss housed dozens of people labeled alien enemies by the government in detention camps that included 2 compounds surrounded by double barbed wire fences, according to Dinshow. Smaller numbers of immigrants from Germany and Italy were also sent there after the United States joined the European allies and declared wars against those countries. And we don't actually hear about that as much, but I really feel that should be talked about as much. All right, next article. And the last one for the evening. Again, I didn't really have a whole bunch. Green card holders may face deportation for this offense. Now, it's a little steep, but I kind of get it. So I don't have as much of a complaint about this one. The Protect Our Communities from DUIs Act, if enabled, amends the Immigration and Nationality Act to make non-citizens convicted of or admitting to offenses related to driving while intoxicated or impaired both inadmissible and deportable, including those with permanent residency or green cards. Now, I mean, that does sound steep, but I get that. Like, I don't actually have as much of a complaint about that. But I just figured I'd share it with you. I don't really have too much to complain about on that one. Because, I mean, you could possibly kill somebody. I mean, I kind of get that. The measure that in June overwhelmingly passed the House of Representatives would alter a long-standing deportability standards by applying immigration consequences to a single DUI conviction or admission of conduct, regardless of whether the offense was classified as a misdemeanor or felony under state, local, tribal, or federal law. I was not aware that DUI was a misdemeanor. I mean, granted, I've never been in trouble for that sort of thing, but I didn't know that was a misdemeanor. Hmm. Maybe it varies from state to state. I'd have to look. I'm proud to say that I may have been arrested once or twice, but DUI wasn't it. Advocates say the change could affect large numbers of lawful permanent residents, international students, and other visa holders who have past DUIs. See, if they have past DUIs and they've already paid their fine and done their time, I don't feel like this should be something that's done retroactively. Because if you've already been punished once, being punished twice for the same crime don't seem right, you know? So I do kind of have a problem with that part. If you're here like in a temporary sort of fashion or possibly temporary and you get caught now doing it, yeah, I could see being deported. But if you've got that like 10 years ago and you've like done better and you aren't doing it anymore, I don't think it should be retroactive. President Donald Trump has prioritized the removal of violent offenders and the worst of the worst from U.S. soil. Some cases involving nonviolent immigrants lacking criminal records have spurred legal concerns and spurred conversations about whether immigrants, in certain instances, who lack citizenship but have abided by all U.S. laws should be removed. Yeah, no, yeah, there's definitely a lot to iron out for sure. The original bill is H.R. 6976, which was introduced in January by Representative Barry Moore, an Alabama Republican. It's passed the House in June before referred to the Senate, where Senator Bill Hagerty, a Republican from Tennessee, introduced a companion legislation to both prevent illegal immigrants who have committed DUIs from entering the U.S. That makes sense, and to automatically deport illegal immigrants who commit DUIs within the United States. And I kind of get that. Like, I'm not as mad about that one. Like I said, my issue is when they start arresting people who have no criminal records and haven't done anything. That's kind of like I said, that's where my problem is at. But if you actually catch them committing a crime that could get someone killed, I kind of have no leg to stand on that one. That one I kind of get. So I really don't have as big of a complaint about this. So, oh, wrong thing. My bad. Oh, hello, Lady Mist. Mwah. How are you? I hope you're doing good. But yeah, I think unless there's something, well, wait. What was that? Trump threatened to defy law on renaming. Okay, you know what? I'm a little curious about this one. Let me go see it real quick. Trump threatens to defy law on renaming Defense Department. We're just going to do it. Why? I feel like the Defense Department is a pretty simple, clear-cut name. Like, I don't know why you change it. Donald Trump threatened to rename the Department of Defense without obtaining permission from Congress, even if it would run afoul of the law. At an Oval Office event on Monday, Trump said he would probably rename the Pentagon to the Department of War in coming days. So, well, I mean, it'd certainly be more fucking honest because we don't really defend ourselves. We kind of start shit with people. So I guess that would actually be more honest to name it that. A reporter later pointed out that changing the name would require congressional approval. It requires an act of Congress to rename the Defense Department to the Department of War, the correspondent noted during an afternoon event at the White House. We're just going to do it, Trump replied. I'm sure Congress will go along if we need that. I don't think we need that. But if we need that, I'm sure Congress is willing to go along with it. Yeah, I'm sure since, you've kept the Epstein list quiet, I'm sure they're going to go along with whatever you fucking tell them because you have all the blackmail stuff and you won't release it. Sorry. Anybody who doesn't release the name of pedophiles is themselves, as far as I'm concerned, a pedophile. Or at least an enabler. That was the name when we won World War I. We won World War II, we won everything. And we came out all right on World War II, but we didn't just win it by ourselves. The Soviets helped with that. And we didn't do so good in Vietnam. So we really didn't win everything. We actually didn't do so good in a lot of the conflicts we've gotten into. So I feel like he's kind of trying to glam up our history a little bit here. And just to me seems like just a much more appropriate. Oh, it seems just much more appropriate. I mean, that it kind of does. The other is defense is too defensive. So he thinks calling the Defense Department is too defensive. We want to be defensive, but we want to be offensive too. They are that if we have to be. So it sounded to me, but like really like a better name. Okay, the grammar is so bad. I wasn't sure I was reading this correctly. I'm sorry. I had a stutter on it because I thought I was reading it wrong. But okay. So yeah, I think that's kind of just wild, but I don't know how I feel about it because I just now saw it. So, but anywho. Well, that is it. It's really all I got. If you guys would like to vote for the little thing that's up here that's pinned to the top of the chat, I'm trying to win a competition for Halloween because I'm broke and it would be awesome to have money. But get caught up on my property tax and shit. So if y'all would be absolute sugar darlings, I would love it if you would do it because you can vote once for free every 24 hours. But you'll have to verify your account with Facebook because they want to make sure that I'm not just cheating and doing a bunch of votes myself, It was giving me some trouble about doing it because, I don't know, I was trying to verify it and it was just would not go through. So I couldn't even vote for myself at this point. So I really do need y'all's help. But anywho's, well, that's all I have to complain about for this evening. I appreciate everybody coming by. Let's get back up here real quick. Hugs to Slay Every Game. Hugs to, I'm going to call you Brig for the moment because I forget how to pronounce that. Hugs to Roadkill and Gorilla. Hugs to Blues. Hugs to Pleasant Valley. And hugs, of course, to our darling Lady Mist. I appreciate y'all so much, and I will try to find a movie or something to show y'all. It'll either be a new movie or maybe something from the YouTube list where there's a lot of independent films being made. And hopefully maybe tomorrow I'll try to find something for us to watch. I love y'all, and I shall talk to y'all later.